Hey, lifers, welcome back to the podcast. This is the... Hey, lifers, welcome back to the Live the Life podcast. I am your host, Eric Aroka. Hey, super excited to be with you guys once again for another episode of the Live the Life podcast. And let's get rolling. Let's go. So when this episode airs, it's actually going to air on the most unproductive week of the calendar year and on the most unproductive day of the calendar year. That's right. This episode we will air on the Thursday morning of March Madness. So happy March Madness to all of you lifers out there. Good luck on your brackets. Heaven knows I need it. So let's tackle the first item of business, which is the brackets. Back in the day, I was pretty religious about doing the bracket. And I gotta say, I really don't follow college basketball much anymore. I barely follow basketball in general anymore. I'm very disillusioned with the NBA. I could really care less about the NBA as a whole anymore. And college basketball is just kind of, I don't know, I just kind of lost interest, to be honest with you. I only follow a couple of teams, and now that I live in Southeast Houston, I kind of follow it a little bit. But anyway, I'm not going to go through the entire bracket and tell you what I pick. I'm just going to tell you who I've got for the Final Four and who I've got winning the chip. Okay? So, Final Four, I've got Auburn and Kansas, with Auburn advancing to the championship game. All right? Maybe not a huge surprise, Auburn being a number 1 seed. What was Kansas? Kansas was a number 7 seed. So, Kansas is pretty good, but I've seen them play here in Houston, and I'm not that impressed. So I think Auburn can definitely take it. On the other side of the bracket, I've got Duke beating BYU. My boys. That's my team. At least one of the teams that I follow, being that I'm from Utah, right? Kind of makes sense. But I've got Duke advancing, along with, Houston Cougars. And I've got Houston advancing to the chip. So in the chip, I've got Auburn and Houston, and I've got Houston winning the whole thing. I don't know. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs down. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I'm only going to fill out one bracket. Back in the day, I would fill out like 16 of them in hopes that I would win, and the office pool and all that fun stuff. So I really hope you lifers have a really good time with the brackets this week. And I just wish you the very best. Good luck. I hope you win your pool. Hope you win your bracket in whatever team you're on, or whatever organization you are currently working in. So anyway, best of luck to you guys. Should be a lot of fun. But this episode will air on the least productive day of the entire year, because let's face it, we're all gonna be paying attention to that, right? So anyway. Good luck to all of you out there on your brackets. Just also wanted to let you know that the Live the Life book, the rewrite, is going very well. I have submitted it to my graphic designer /formatter. So she is putting the finishing touches on the book. It's already gone through editing. She is going to put the finishing touches on it. We are going to redo the cover. The cover will essentially remain the same, okay? But it is going to have a new logo. And if you follow the podcast, there's a hint for you. So if you think you know what the new logo is for the book, put it down in the comments. But if you've been following this podcast at all, you probably have a pretty good idea. So I'll surprise you if you really can't guess and you really can't figure it out. I will surprise you once the book is finished, and I'll show you the final copy of it. So just wanted to let you know also that the content of the book is really going to remain the same. The stories remain the same. Just like the guts and feel of the book does not change. The only thing that I changed on it is I rewrote it to fit a more professional audience. So I wrote it for you. This version is really more directed towards a younger group, like teenagers to maybe the age of like 21-ish. Maybe like if you're still in college, this would have been a great read. And it still is a really good read, but it just seems a little bit elementary if you're a professional, if you've been involved in your career for any length of time. So I rewrote it for that. The stories, the content really is the same. It's just more directed at a more professional audience. And so there's going to be a few minor changes to it. But for the most part, the guts and feel of the book will remain the same. Like I said, we will have a little bit of a logo redesign for the book. I got to tell you guys a cool story. So when I wrote the book, Jason Hewlett, for those of you who don't know who Jason Hewlett is, go Google him. Jason, Hewlett. This dude is an incredible performer, incredibly funny, and incredibly inspiring. I met him at NSA in Salt Lake City, National Speakers Association chapter in Salt Lake City. And I don't know why, but I just got the guts one day to contact him and ask him if he would be willing to write just a little blurb for the book. You know, like in the back of the book, there's a couple of different quotes or a couple of different recommendations for the book. And I really was just asking him to write something very small like that for the book. And I gave him a raw copy of the book. It was unedited. It was like, I don't know. I should have done a better job of getting him a cleaner copy. But to his credit, I gave him like a couple of weeks to read it. And he came back after a couple of weeks and he said that he would not write me a little blurb for the book. But he said instead, with my permission, that he wanted to write the foreword for the book. So here you go. The foreword right there is by none other than Jason Hewlett himself. So just huge love, huge admiration for Jason, for being so giving and being so kind. This was my first book ever, and I really didn't know what I was doing. And he was very, very kind in his review and in his foreword of the book. So that will remain the same. That's gonna stay in the book. I'm gonna put a little caption on here that just says foreword provided by Jason Hewlett or something like that. And anyway, so exciting stuff coming down the pike here. So you can be waiting for that, and we should be good to go. So that's a little bit of a review. And obviously the last episode that we just did, we had our first ever guest on the podcast. We had the wonderful and great Cheryl Knowlton on the podcast, and she was fantastic. We kind of labeled that, we kind of titled that episode Rising with Cheryl. And really, if you listen to the podcast, I thought it was great. I thought Cheryl did a great job of talking about some of her struggles and how she dealt with, very dear loved ones to her with mental health and even her own mental health, and how she's overcome some of those challenges and struggles. And I just thought she was very, very classy. I thought she was very professional. And I told you that it would be very energetic. And I mean, every time I watch it, sure enough, she was very energetic. She definitely brought it. So just a huge thank you to Cheryl, my dear friend, for helping us out and having her be on the podcast. So I am filming another guest this week and filming a guest for the following week. And so those will be out pretty soon. So I'm telling you, you don't want to miss them. They are incredible guests. So I'm super excited about the guests of the podcast. So if you like the podcast, if you like the content, please, hey, share it. Let your friends know, let your family members know about the podcast. Make comments. That all helps us to grow the channel and to just grow the podcast, right? It's available on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. So Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. I believe you can also get it on Podbean and some of those other podcast vehicles that are available to all of you. So pretty much wherever you listen to on your podcast for your audio, you can pick it up. And obviously the video is available on YouTube. So give us a follow, interact with us. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear what your thoughts are. Any guests that you think, and any guests that you feel that we should bring on, let me know. Hey, I will do my darndest, and Sophie will do her darndest as well to see if we can get those guests on the podcast for you. So with that said, we are going to talk a little bit today about some of the first principles about the Live the Life You've Always Imagined book that I wrote. So the book is really divided into two sections. The first section are general principles that I feel you need to live in order to live the life you've always imagined. Like, you can't just roll out of bed and say, hey, today I'm going to live the life I've always imagined. It doesn't quite work that way. There's a little bit of pre-work that needs to be done. So this is the pre-work in order for you to live the life. When we get done with this, the next 4 episodes, or maybe 3 episodes, will be about the 4 core principles that we will discuss about living the life you've always imagined. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So these are really preparatory in order to get you to a point where you can live the 4 core values of living the life, or those 4 core principles of living the life you've always imagined. So a long time ago, I don't even remember. I was trying to remember today exactly how long ago it was that I came across a quote by Henry David Thoreau. And the quote goes like this: go confidently in the directions of your dreams and live the life you've always imagined. Okay, now I came across that quote, changed my life. And so obviously the name of the book, Live the Life You've Always Imagined, Live the Life Podcast, you can see what an effect it's had on my life, okay? So go confidently in the directions of your dreams. Now I gotta tell you, at this time, I don't believe that I was living the life. I was living a life in some aspects, but I wasn't living a full life. I was living a life full of fear and despair, and that is not a way to live a good life, or to live the life. And so these are some things that I wrote about in my book, some principles that I believe made a huge difference in helping me to prepare to be able to live the life I always wanted to live. So the first thing is being able to be goal-oriented. Early in my career, in my sales career, I found myself involved with lots of people who were goal-oriented. And I will be honest with you, I had never really been goal-oriented before. I didn't really know how to go about building goals or how to achieve those goals. It seemed to me like if I achieved a goal, it was more by accident than by actual planning and execution of that. So goals became a pretty big deal in my life. And following those people who were goal-oriented and seeing their example and being able to follow their example was very, very helpful to me. Now, there are lots of different frameworks that you can use to set your goals. And this is not going to be a discussion of pro and cons of the different frameworks. And strengths and weaknesses of each. I don't care. Okay. I don't think that you should care that much either. I think the point here is that you need to set goals. You need to have a plan on how you're going to achieve those goals, and then you need to execute on that plan. So you can choose, for example, SMART goals. And if you Google SMART goals, you will find 1,000 reasons why SMART goals is the way to go. And you'll find 1,000 reasons why SMART goals are not the way to go. Okay. So like I said, it's a little bit bipolar. Okay. But the main point is to set goals. I think that we all do a really good job at the end of it, or I guess at the beginning of every year, right? To go ahead and set goals or New Year's resolutions. But by the end of February, most of those have kind of gone by the wayside, and we can't even remember what those goals were. So I want you to be able to write your goals down. I want them to be realistic, and they only need to be realistic to you. They don't need to be realistic to anyone else. They do need to be realistic to you. I think back to the Wright brothers, their goal for flight. That was not a goal that was realistic to many people. In fact, most of Dayton, Ohio, basically just laughed at them because of their goal. But it wasn't a goal that was realistic to them. It was only realistic to the Wright brothers, because let's face it, they'd done the math. They'd done this, they knew the science. They knew the factors involved, and so they could see it. So it was a realistic goal for them. So make sure that your goals, number one, are just realistic to you. And then set out a plan to go and implement and to execute on those goals. Allow some flexibility in your goals, so that if they do change with time, they can kind of morph, they can kind of change with time. Maybe the time that they're due, or the goal itself maybe change a little bit here and there, what have you. So just have a little bit of flexibility when it comes to that. The second thing I would tell you is to live your life with courage. It's easy to live in fear and in despair. There's lots of crazy things that happen to us, whether it be unemployment, a death in the family, an illness, whatever, right? Whatever. Your political party loses an election, and all of a sudden it's doom and gloom, right? So whatever the reason, I just feel like it's really important that you find courage in your life, that you find ways to be courageous in your life. Surround yourself with people who are good examples of courage, of living with courage. In the book Live the Life, there's several examples of people who live a life with courage. So I would definitely tell you to live your life with courage, to go find it. It makes such a difference in the way that you see things, in your outlook. So I definitely want you guys to strive to look for courage, and to look for those opportunities where you can be courageous. I think about heroes all the time. We're so quick to want to make everybody a hero, and everybody's actions are heroic or what have you. To me, in my definition of heroes wear uniforms. Okay? Like firemen, police officers, doctors to some extent, they wear a uniform, and therefore I just look at them more like heroes. But if we want to be a little bit more flexible with that definition, or with the word of hero, you could be a hero. Who's the hero in your life? Who's the person that you look up to? And what aspects, and when do they show courage? How do they show courage? And can you emulate the way that they show courage? So definitely take a look at courage. Take a look at what that looks like for you in your life. The next one is negative self-talk. And let's face it, right now, we're all guilty of it, probably on the daily, right? You can't get away from it. your brain will automatically tell you that you're crazy. Your brain will automatically tell you that you don't know what you're doing. Your brain will automatically tell you that you're in over your head. Your brain will automatically tell you that you're not good enough, that you don't compare to so-and-so, that whatever, okay? Negative self-talk, I believe, is useful if we catch it early on. If we can realize early, hey, that is negative self-talk. Hey, I'm talking down to myself. Hey, I'm bringing myself down. If we can recognize that early, then we can replace it with the positive talk, right? We can say, yeah, I don't have any experience on a podcast. Yes, this is my first podcast. But yes, I don't have a following except for you lifers, and I so appreciate it. But you know what I'm saying, right? It's being able to recognize that you're involved in the negative self-talk and then quickly be able to replace it with that positive self-talk. Hey, you can do this. Hey, you are good enough. Hey, you don't have to compare yourself to other people. You're your own person. You're your own magnificent self, so on and so forth. So I think that negative self-talk oftentimes gets a bad rap because it's in the title. But I think it can be productive only in the sense that we need to recognize it early and then do that paradigm shift, change our focus, and start being solution-minded instead of being problem-minded. So, goals, courage, negative self-talk. First three. The next one is gratitude. Now, you're going to hear lots of people that say, hey, do a gratitude journal, and you do you, right? Like, I can't tell you how many reels, stories I've seen on social media, just people in general talking about having a gratitude journal, whatever. I do not have a gratitude journal. I can't do a gratitude journal. But when I do journal, I usually journal once a week. I usually write a few thoughts down on a Sunday evening. And you know, I do take the time to be grateful, to show gratitude for things, especially some of the experiences that I've been able to have during the week. I show gratitude for those. Show gratitude for the people in your life, and especially those who are on your team, especially those people who want you to win. Show a little gratitude towards them. Give them a little love. That goes a long, long way. When my kids were really young, and I don't even remember how I came across this, but I gave them a challenge one Christmas that I wanted them to write a letter to someone that they wanted to express gratitude towards. And then I wanted them to call that person on the phone and read the letter to them. So they didn't mail it to them. They didn't email it. They didn't text it. Well, texting wasn't even a thing back then. Email was barely a thing. And so they were going to write the letter and call that person on the phone and just read the letter to them. And it was amazing. Like, it was fantastic. What a wonderful experience that was. I remember one of my daughters wrote a letter to her fourth grade teacher, I believe. And just like her expressing her gratitude for him was like so heartwarming. Or some of my other kids expressing gratitude for, you know, a particular friend or just someone that they looked up to. And I thought that was a really great way to show gratitude. And I think that in our life, we really need to go out of our way to show gratitude more often, to really find opportunities to show gratitude and to be totally sincere about it and to not hold back. I think oftentimes, I don't know about you guys, but I think sometimes at times I find myself holding back a little bit of gratitude instead of just letting it flow and just being super grateful for the experiences in my life and be grateful for the bad things that happen in your life, because those are the things that help you learn and develop and grow. So be grateful for even like the obstacles and the challenges and how messy life can be. Be grateful for that, because if it wasn't for that, life would be pretty boring. Let's face it. If everything was okay all the time, life would be pretty dang boring. So have gratitude. Have gratitude in your heart. Have gratitude towards other people. Show that gratitude, and man, it changes people's lives. It'll change your life. But it'll also change other people's life. The other principle that we talk about a little bit in the book is, I came up with this concept that storms don't last forever. I was out in a field watching it rain, literally watching it rain. I watched it go from like blue skies to gray skies to black skies, and then just like this horrendous downpour of water and wind. And, it was kind of scary because like I'd never seen the sky get that dark and get that windy and have it rain that hard. So it was a little, but I realized at that moment that storms don't last forever. And that is so true. Like on the other side of the storm is blue skies. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that fact. And so if you liken those storms to your life and to life storms, we can conclude also that whatever storm you're facing right now, it doesn't last forever. It will go away. There will be blue skies on the other side of that. Now, some storms last longer than others. That's okay, because on the other side, there's blue skies. And I almost feel like that gratitude piece is also going to allow you to realize that and to be super grateful for not only the storm, but the calmness and the tranquility that comes after the storm. So we can have that gratitude for those difficult moments and the great moments, right? All right. I think the other piece that I wanted to share with you guys also was a little thing about finding joy. Now, I'm saying finding joy instead of happiness, because I feel like happiness is a fleeting thing. And this is what I mean by that. As soon as you feel happy, it is going away. Like as soon as you feel it, it's already going away. Joy is something that comes from deep from inside, and it's something that stays with you forever. Right? Like you can't get rid of it. It's always there. You can call on it at a moment's notice. Happiness is here, gone tomorrow. It's a fleeting moment. So I want you to look for joy. I want you to find joy in your life. I'm reminded of a story that I share in the book about Selena's grandmother, Delilah Hort. And her husband, this was back in the 1930s, I believe. Her and her husband, he was having a difficult time looking for work, and he found work with the Union Pacific Railroad out in California, and the railroad would give them one boxcar per family. So here is this pretty newly married couple. I believe Delilah was probably 18 years old. I think Lamar was in his mid-20s. Just kind of how they rolled back then, right? I think Delilah and her husband, I can't remember his name, Grandpa Hort. I think they were married at, I think she was 16 and he might have been 24 or something like that. So, a little bit of an age difference. But back then, I don't think it was that big of a deal. Anyway, so the railroad company gives them a boxcar. Now, I don't know what you know about boxcars, but I've been in one. I can't imagine living in one. I can't imagine being in California weather, in the summer. It's hot, it's dusty. Ugh, it's got to be stifling. Like, can you imagine? I'm feeling claustrophobic just thinking about living in a boxcar. But Delilah tried to make the most of it. And she talks about how to find joy in her current circumstance of living in a boxcar, that she would go outside and there was this little mound outside, and on this mound there were wildflowers. And so Delilah would go outside and water her and take care of the wildflowers, and the wildflowers would blossom, they would bloom, and there was beauty around her because these flowers bloomed wherever it was that they were living out in this boxcar. And I just thought, it's the simple things, it's the little things. We can find joy in the smallest things. We can find joy in the most difficult of circumstances. You can find joy if you've been let go from a job, because now it provides you with an opportunity to go find the job that you really want, to go find somewhere to work that you really want, where you really want to work at, to be around people that are going to support you and build you up. And so you gotta be able to find joy even in difficult times. But I think that as you find joy, then once you find it, don't let go of it, right? Continue to nurture that. And you nurture that by finding more and more and more joy. My kids, as an example, bring me joy. There are moments that they bring me happiness, but like I said, happiness is fleeting, right? If I say, oh, I'm super proud of you because you achieved this thing or whatever, hey, as soon as I find that happiness, it's already going away. So joy is something that is from within, and it's something that you can have access to whenever you need to find that joy, whenever you want to feel it. It's accessible to you. You can pull it out and you can use it. So take the time to find joy in your life. All right. I think one of the other things that that I thought was interesting when I wrote the book, I wrote a chapter called Unplugged. And how unplugged are you, or how disconnected are you from technology, right? It's really what the chapter was about. And I think back then I was talking about Instagram and Facebook because that was probably the really most popular things. I think at the time Facebook had just replaced MySpace. For any of you lifers out there who, I don't know, had a MySpace account. I never did. I wasn't into social media, into that stuff back then. I really didn't care. I barely cared to have a cell phone. I just didn't. At the time, I honestly did not see the need for it. And most people that I knew that carried a cell phone were a little pompous about it and thought that they were this great thing because they were carrying around a giant block Motorola phone. So I don't know. It wasn't my thing. Obviously, that's not the case now. I can't live without my iPhone. But the chapter is called Unplugged, and I want you to find opportunities where you can be unplugged. Now, it's easy. For example, is let's say that you have access to go up into the mountains and go for a hike or go camping or do something like that. It's easy to just take our phones because our phones are our cameras. We're just so connected to our phones. There is so many things that we do with our phones that have become just common everyday things that we do with our phones. But I want you to find opportunities where you can unplug, where you can have a little bit of time of solitude, a little bit of time to ponder, a little bit of time to think about your life and about the things that you're grateful for, to think about your goals, to find courage, find those opportunities to show gratitude. And I think that we can do that when we're unplugged, when we're not connected to everybody else in the world. I can't tell you how many times my wife Selena and I will go on a date and we'll just be sitting there watching someone, and there's a couple at a table, and the whole time they're eating dinner, they're on their individual phones, and they never say one word to each other except for, "Are you done? Are you ready to go?" And I always think of those opportunities as how sad is it that you have this opportunity to make quality time and to build memories, and instead you're just focused on the scores for the game or whatever social media stupid thing is happening at the time, or you're just connected to the news because you're a news junkie, whatever, right? We all have our excuses, right? But find those opportunities to be unplugged, to set the phone down. If you have a significant other, make sure that they are the first thing that you acknowledge in the morning. Make sure that they're the last thing that you acknowledge at night instead of it being your phone, right? Before you pick up your phone in the morning, hey, if you're lucky enough to have a significant other living with you, give them a kiss, right? Hug your kids. Give your kids a kiss. Good morning. Give them a kiss good night, or whatever. Or your spouse or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Just find those opportunities to put them ahead of the technology. I think the technology is great. I'm a little bit of a technology junkie. I love it. I think it's great. I love social media. But we have to find those opportunities where we can unplug, where we can have those moments to think about things, to ponder our life, to come up with solutions to our problems and to the issues that we have. And I think that getting unplugged affords us that opportunity to be more in harmony and more in touch with a greater power, right? Whatever you think that greater power is, mine is God. I'm a faith-based guy. I don't hold any punches about it. That's just who I am. And being unplugged definitely allows me an opportunity to get closer to my God and to build that relationship with Him. So find every opportunity that you can to be unplugged and to really just enjoy those moments. I always chuckle, like my kids, they would go to concerts, and especially my daughters, right? My daughters will go to like Harry Styles or Taylor Swift concerts, and they always come back with so much footage, right? And I just think, man, I'm so glad I did not have a cell phone when I was their age because of all the concerts I went to. I really had a great time. And those images, those memories are just embedded in my mind. Like they are not going anywhere. And I can pull them out anytime. And I don't know. I just think it's different, right? It's just different. I think that when you have your phone out and you're just so worried and you want to record and you want to capture every moment, you're capturing the event. You're not really capturing the moment. The moment lives in your mind. The moment lives in the experience. The moment lives in the memory of you being present in that moment, in that memory. And I don't really think that you can truly be present when you've got your phone out recording. So just take a step back. Go unplugged. Try it for a week. It is really hard. It is really hard to say, I am not going to use my phone for a week. Now, you're going to use your phone because you got a text. That's a way of communication. And you got to call people. That's your way of communication. We don't have a landline anymore. All right. So the last thing I wanted to say was a little bit about working in your strengths or living your life in your strengths. I think so much is said about us spending time working on our weaknesses, that if you work on your weaknesses, that you're going to get better, that this will happen, blah, blah, blah. To be honest with you, I think that's a bunch of crap. I think what you need to do is be aware that your weaknesses exist and live in your strengths, whatever your strengths are. If you don't know what your strengths are, ask a friend, ask a loved one. They'll tell you what they think your strengths are, and then live in those strengths. I was reminded of a quick story of my son when he was really young playing comp baseball. His team was as good as the Bad News Bears, so they pretty much sucked. Coach told the players to focus on the things that they did well, not to try to do the things that they didn't do well. And sure enough, the result was they started winning, and they became a pretty dang good little baseball team. So living your strengths. Don't worry about your weaknesses. Your weaknesses will always be there. They'll be there when you get home from work. They'll be there when you get home from school. They'll be there 24/7, 365. But you can elevate your weaknesses by living in your strengths. That's how you elevate your weaknesses. So I hope that living those principles will help you go confidently in the directions of your dreams so that you can live the life that you've imagined. Hey guys, it's been a great episode. Really looking forward to upcoming episodes. I just kicked the camera. Really looking forward to future episodes with guests and more content. So if you like what you've heard, if you love this content, please comment, share, and hey, it's available. And just to remind you, it is available. The podcast is available on Amazon, Apple, and Spotify, and the video version is available on YouTube. Hey, help us grow by liking, subscribing, sharing, doing all those great things. And look forward to the next time we get together. And hey, once again, good luck on your brackets. And don't forget, live the life.